A man receives anonymous messages revealing secrets about him that no one knew. When he investigated further, he discovered who was sending the messages. Jake begins receiving anonymous messages that initially seem harmless but quickly become more intriguing and laden with secrets. He tries to ignore them, but his curiosity consumes him, especially when he realizes that the messages contain personal details about his life that no one else should know. The first contact happens on an ordinary workday. While he reviews reports in the office, his cell phone vibrates on the desk. A new message appears on the screen. "I know what you did last night." Intrigued, Jake reads the message repeatedly, trying to make sense of it. He hadn't done anything special the night before, except watch a movie at home. Thinking it might be a prank by a colleague, he decides to ignore it. However, throughout the week, the messages keep coming, each one more peculiar and detailed than the last. "You left the kitchen light on, and your shoes were on the porch. Don't forget to put them away." Jake's initial discomfort turns into constant unease. How could someone know such intimate details of his daily routine? One morning, he shares the situation with his friend and colleague Mark during a break. "Dude, this is getting weird," Jake says, frowning as he shows the messages on his phone. "Maybe it's some kind of prank. Do you know anyone who would do this?" Mark asks, trying to help. "I can't think of anyone. And these messages, it's like the person is watching me all the time." Mark suggests that Jake install security cameras in his house, and he decides to follow the advice. However, the cameras don't capture anything unusual. The messages continue, becoming increasingly disturbing. "You're wearing the blue shirt you bought last week." And "that conversation with Mark about the project was interesting." Jake starts to feel like he's losing control of his life. He tries to trace the phone number of the messages, but to no avail. His frustration grows and paranoia begins to affect his work performance. He even considers going to the police, but fears they will think he's paranoid or, worse, that the situation will escalate. One night, while he's at home, another message arrives. "You're close to discovering the truth." Jake feels a shiver run down his spine. Whoever is sending these messages clearly knows more than they should. He decides he needs to confront this situation once and for all. "I need to find out who is behind this," he murmurs to himself, determined. The search for answers becomes an obsession. He reviews every message, trying to find clues. Each day, curiosity and fear mix, creating unbearable tension. Jake starts paying more attention to his colleagues, trying to identify suspicious behaviors. But everyone seems normal, except one person: Emily. Emily is a shy and reserved colleague who rarely interacts with others. Jake had never paid much attention to her, but something about her behavior now seems out of the ordinary. He decides to observe her more closely, trying to discover if she could be involved. One day, Jake sees her typing frantically on her phone during a break. As he approaches, she quickly puts the device away and walks off. His suspicion grows, but Jake still has no concrete proof. Finally, on a rainy afternoon, a message arrives with a different tone. "The truth is closer than you think. Look for Emily." Jake's heart races. He feels that he's about to uncover the mystery. With renewed determination, he decides to confront her the next day, ready to discover the secrets she's hiding. After weeks of mystery, Jake finally discovers that the sender of the messages is Emily, a shy and reserved colleague. The revelation occurs unexpectedly one late afternoon when Jake decides to confront Emily in a small break room at the company. "Emily, we need to talk," Jake says, trying to stay calm as his heart races. Emily looks up from the book she was reading, clearly surprised by Jake's direct approach. "Sure, Jake. About what?" she responds, her voice low and hesitant. Jake takes a deep breath before continuing. "I know you're the person behind the messages. Why are you doing this? What do you want from me?" Emily visibly tenses, her hands trembling slightly as she closes the book. She looks around, making sure they're alone, before finally speaking. I I am the person who sent the messages, she admits, her voice almost a whisper. But it's not as simple as it seems. Jake steps closer, trying to understand the situation better. Then explain it to me. Why did you send those messages? What do you want me to find out? Emily hesitates for a moment, as if struggling internally to decide how much to reveal. There are things you need to know, Jake. Things I can't just tell you. You have to discover them for yourself, she says, her voice filled with mystery and urgency. Emily, you can't expect me to understand all this without any explanation, Jake responds, frustrated. You know details about my life that no one else should know. Why are you doing this? Emily sighs, appearing more vulnerable than ever. I know it seems strange, but I was trying to warn you. There are secrets, dark things happening around us, and you're at the center of it, even without realizing it. Jake runs his hand through his hair, trying to process everything he just heard. Secrets? What kind of secrets? I can't say everything now, Emily responds, her voice trembling slightly. But believe me, Jake, you need to stay alert. There are people who are not what they seem to be. Jake feels the tension inside him rise. He looks into Emily's eyes, trying to decipher the truth behind her words. And you? Who are you really, Emily? Why are you hiding behind these messages? Emily averts her gaze as if fighting back tears. I'm just someone trying to survive, Jake. Someone who has been hurt and doesn't want to see another person go through the same. Jake senses the depth of pain in Emily's words and feels a wave of empathy for her. Emily, I want to help you, but you need to be honest with me. What are you running from? Who is trying to hurt you? Emily looks at Jake, her eyes filled with fear and determination. There's more at stake than you realize. Someone very dangerous is after me, and I needed someone I could trust. I chose you, Jake. The revelation leaves Jake stunned. He never imagined that behind the enigmatic messages was a story of fear and survival. I'm here, Emily. I'll help you face this, but you have to trust me and tell me everything you know. Emily nods, finally letting a tear escape. I trust you, Jake, and together we'll discover the truth. From that moment on, Jake and Emily's lives become intertwined in a way neither could have predicted. They are about to embark on a dangerous journey, full of dark secrets and challenges. But now, with mutual trust established, they are ready to face whatever comes their way. Jake and Emily start to get to know each other better. Emily reveals that she is running from a traumatic past involving her obsessive and dangerous ex-boyfriend, Alex. She confesses that she started sending messages to Jake as a way to ask for help without drawing Alex's attention. Emily, visibly uncomfortable, took a deep breath before answering. Jake, I needed help, but I couldn't be direct. Someone is after me. Someone dangerous. Jake frowned, intrigued. Who? And why me? Alex, she whispered, almost as if the name was a curse. He's my ex-boyfriend, obsessive, controlling. I thought I had escaped him, but he found me. I knew that if he discovered I was trying to ask for help, it could be dangerous for me and anyone who was with me. Jake felt a chill down his spine. So why the encrypted messages? Why not approach me directly? Emily looked at him with eyes full of fear and vulnerability. Because Alex is smart. He monitors everything. If I did something obvious, he would know. I needed you to understand the danger without him noticing. Jake leaned back in his chair, processing the information. And why me? Why not someone closer to you? Emily smiled sadly. Because you're different, Jake. You were always kind to me at work, even when no one else noticed my existence. I felt like I could trust you. He leaned forward, his expression serious. "What exactly does Alex want from you? And why is he so dangerous?" She swallowed before responding. "Alex doesn't take no for an answer. When I broke up with him, he started stalking me, threatening me. He has connections, people who do his dirty work for him. And now, it seems he's closer than ever." Jake nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of the situation. "So, those messages were a cry for help?" "Yes," Emily admitted. "I needed you to know what was happening, but in a way that wouldn't alert him. I needed someone who could help me escape this situation without raising any suspicions." Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility now on his shoulders. "Emily, I will help you. But we need to be careful. If Alex is as dangerous as you say, we can't leave any clues." She nodded, looking relieved for the first time in weeks. "Thank you, Jake. I knew I could count on you." From that moment on, Jake and Emily began to spend more time together, developing a plan to keep her safe and find a way to expose Alex. They met in discreet locations, always alert to any sign of danger. During these meetings, Emily began to open up more about her past, revealing painful details of her relationship with Alex and the reasons she had to run away. "He seemed perfect at first," Emily said one night as they walked through a dimly lit park. "But soon things changed. He became possessive, controlling. I couldn't do anything without him knowing." Jake held her hand, offering comfort. "We will find a way to end this, Emily. You're not alone." Over time, Jake realized that Emily was not just a victim. She was a strong woman who had endured more than anyone should. And that strength, combined with Jake's determination, would be crucial to facing the challenge ahead. As their relationship grew stronger, Jake began to notice changes in his own life. He was more alert, more distrustful. Every move at work, every look from a colleague was analyzed carefully. He knew he couldn't trust anyone but Emily. "Emily, do you think someone at work might be helping Alex?" Jake asked one day as they reviewed old messages. Emily bit her lip, thoughtful. "It's possible. He has resources and knows how to manipulate people. We need to be prepared for anything." Jake agreed, feeling the tension rise. "We'll find out who's on his side, and when we do, we'll make sure he can never hurt you again." So, with a plan in mind and new determination, Jake and Emily prepared to face the danger surrounding them, ready for any challenge that lay ahead. In the workplace, the pressure was at its peak. The crucial project for the company, a new software platform that promised to revolutionize the market, was at risk due to a series of internal sabotages. Jake, already shaken by the recent discoveries about Emily, began to realize that the messages she sent him might be intrinsically linked to the project's problems. It all started when Emily mentioned, in one of her enigmatic messages, specific details about the project that were being compromised. Jake was intrigued, and when confronting her about it, she hesitated before responding but finally said, "Jake, I didn't know how to tell you this. I know that someone inside the company is sabotaging the project, and I think it's related to what I'm going through with Alex." Jake frowned, trying to process the information. "How do you know this, Emily?" Emily took a deep breath, struggling to stay calm. "I overheard conversations I shouldn't have. Alex has eyes and ears everywhere, and he has someone inside helping him. I don't know who it is, but I know they're sabotaging the project to get to me, to get to us." Jake felt a chill down his spine. He knew he needed to act fast. "Emily, we need to find out who's behind this, and quickly." In the following days, Jake began to observe his colleagues more closely. He noticed strange behaviors and started piecing together the puzzle. The distrust grew, especially towards some team members who had access to the most sensitive information about the project. In a tense meeting with the team, Jake posed an apparently innocent but loaded question. Has anyone else noticed anything strange happening with the project? Anything out of the ordinary? The looks exchanged, and for a moment there was an uncomfortable silence. Finally, a colleague, Mark, responded. I've noticed some files disappearing and reappearing, but I thought it was just a technical glitch. Jake nodded, but inside, he was more alert than ever. He knew he needed more evidence. One night, after everyone had left, Jake and Emily stayed in the office, reviewing the system access logs. Look at this, Jake, said Emily, pointing to the screen. These accesses, they don't make sense. Someone is entering and leaving the system outside of working hours. Jake sighed. We need to find out who it is, and fast. Meanwhile, the tension between Jake and Lisa, his ex-girlfriend, was increasing. Lisa, who also worked at the company, began to show signs of jealousy and distrust. Jake, you're spending a lot of time with Emily. What's going on? She asked, confronting him one day in the hallway. Lisa, it's complicated. It's not what you think, Jake responded, trying to calm her down. Then tell me what's going on, Jake, Lisa insisted, her tone full of frustration. Jake hesitated but knew he needed her help. Lisa, someone is sabotaging the project. And Emily, she's in danger. We need to find out who's behind this. Lisa was silent for a moment, processing the information. All right, Jake, I'll help you, but we need to be careful. With Lisa and Emily's help, Jake set a plan to catch the saboteur. They monitored the system accesses and finally caught a colleague in the act. It was Peter, a developer who always seemed to be on the fringe of events but had a secret connection with Alex. Confronted, Peter tried to defend himself. I was just following orders. Alex, he threatened me. Jake, feeling a mix of anger and relief, responded, This ends now, Peter. You're going to tell us everything. Peter's revelation exposed the extent of Alex's manipulation network. Jake knew the final confrontation was approaching, but at least with Emily by his side and Lisa's unexpected help, he felt they were one step closer to solving the mystery. At that moment, Jake realized the fight was far from over, but he was determined to protect Emily and save the project no matter the cost. Jake's distrust of his colleagues grows as he delves deeper into the investigation of who could be sabotaging the company's crucial project. Emily's messages, which once seemed like mere cries for help, now provide clues that intertwine with the problems at work, adding complexity to the situation. Jake feels he must protect Emily from any threat while unraveling the mysteries surrounding them both. In the office, the atmosphere grows increasingly tense. Jake begins to closely observe his colleagues' behavior, looking for any sign of betrayal or suspicious behavior. He knows the sabotage is not an isolated act, and that someone inside the company is collaborating with external forces. Dude, you all right? You seem kind of distracted lately, comments his friend and co-worker Michael, noticing Jake's worried expression. Yeah, just dealing with some stuff, Jake responds evasively, not revealing much. Meanwhile, Lisa, his ex-girlfriend, starts showing increasingly possessive and jealous behavior. She notices Jake getting closer to Emily, which deeply bothers her. During a coffee break, Lisa tries to approach Jake. Jake, can we talk? I feel like we're drifting apart and I still care about you, Lisa says, with a tone mixing concern and resentment. Lisa, now's not a good time. I'm dealing with a lot at work and in my personal life, Jake responds, trying to avoid a confrontation. It's because of her, isn't it? That Emily, ever since she showed up, you've completely changed, accuses Lisa, her gaze filled with contained fury. Jake sighs, trying to stay calm. Lisa, it's not that simple. There's a lot going on that you don't know. As the days pass, Jake finds himself increasingly pressured. He starts discreetly investigating his colleagues, looking for any sign of suspicious behavior. He notes everything, from whispered conversations to furtive glances. One night, after everyone had left, Jake decides to stay in the office to investigate further. He connects to the company's server and starts checking access logs. To his surprise, he discovers someone has been accessing confidential information outside of working hours. Who could be doing this? Jake thinks aloud while analyzing the data. Suddenly, he hears a noise coming from the next room. His heart races. Jake approaches silently and, peeking through the slightly open door, sees Lisa handling some files. "Lisa, what are you doing here?" asks Jake, surprised and suspicious. Lisa turns quickly, with a shocked expression. "Jake, I was just looking for some documents I forgot to take home." Jake can't hide his distrust. Why are you accessing these specific files? And why outside of working hours? Lisa hesitates, looking nervous. "Jake, I didn't know you'd be here. Can we talk about this?" Jake decides he needs more information before directly accusing Lisa of anything. He continues his investigation, now with a closer eye on everyone, including Lisa. Every detail could be crucial to uncovering the sabotage and protecting Emily. Meanwhile, Emily begins to feel the pressure of the threats. She and Jake meet in a cafe after work to discuss the situation. "Jake, I'm scared. Alex is getting bolder. What if he finds out where I am?" says Emily, visibly shaken. "I promise I won't let anything happen to you, Emily." "We'll figure this out together," responds Jake, holding her hand. The tension between protecting Emily and solving the work mystery weighs heavily on Jake. He knows he needs to be careful, as any misstep could put everything at risk. With growing suspicions about his colleagues and Lisa trying to win him back, Jake finds himself at a crossroads where trust and betrayal walk hand in hand. Each day, the puzzle seems more intricate and the pieces harder to fit. Jake is determined to discover the truth, protect Emily, and save the company's project, but he knows time is running out and any mistake could be fatal. Jake and Emily grow closer, developing a deep emotional bond. As they share their stories and fears, a growing trust emerges between them. With each conversation, the emotional barriers they've built over the years begin to crumble, allowing them to see each other with unprecedented clarity. "I've never told anyone this," Emily says, her voice trembling slightly. "But when Alex and I broke up, he wouldn't accept it. He stalked me, sent threatening messages, and even broke into my apartment once. I was so scared that I changed cities, jobs, my whole life." Jake nodded, feeling a mix of anger and compassion. "That explains a lot, Emily. I had no idea you were going through something like this. But why did you start sending me those messages?" She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. "I needed a way to connect with someone, to ask for help without drawing Alex's attention. You seemed like the right person. I knew you could understand and maybe protect me." Meanwhile, the threats against Emily intensified. Anonymous messages became more frequent and explicit, increasing Jake's concern. He began to suspect that Alex was closer than they imagined. One particularly tense night, Jake and Emily were sitting on her apartment sofa, analyzing the latest messages. "Look at this," Jake said, showing Emily a recent message. "It says he's watching us, that he knows where we are." She shivered. "That means he's close. Jake, I'm scared." Jake held her hand tightly. "I won't let anything happen to you, Emily. We'll get through this together." Jake's concern grew daily. He couldn't shake the feeling that Alex was lurking in the shadows, always a step ahead. He decided to intensify his vigilance and, at the same time, strengthen his emotional bond with Emily. They needed to be united to face the imminent danger. "Emily, I think we need to change our strategy," Jake suggested. "We need to be smarter than him. Let's pretend we're not worried, that we're not preparing. This might give him a false sense of security." She reluctantly agreed. "But what if he finds out, Jake? What if he discovers?" "We have to take the risk. We can't keep living in fear. We need to face him head on, but on our terms." In the following days, Jake and Emily continued their daily routines, but always with a watchful eye. They grew even closer, finding comfort and strength in each other's company. Conversations that once revolved around work and trivial matters now focused on dreams, fears, and plans for the future. "I never thought I'd find someone like this," Emily said one night as they walked through the park. "Someone who cared so much about me." Jake smiled, squeezing her hand. "Me neither, Emily. But I'm glad it happened, and I promise we'll get through this. Together." Despite the increasing pressure of the threats, their relationship blossomed. Jake felt a deep responsibility to protect Emily, not just because of Alex's threats, but also because she had become an essential part of his life. He knew the path ahead would be dangerous, but he was determined to face any challenge to ensure her safety. However, the feeling that Alex was very close never went away. Every strange sound, every moving shadow made Jake stay on high alert. He knew the final confrontation was approaching and that he needed to be prepared to protect Emily at all costs. "And if he's really close, Jake?" Emily asked, her voice filled with worry. Jake looked at her with determination. "Then we'll be ready for him. We won't let him destroy us. We'll fight, Emily. Together." And so, as the tension mounted and the threats intensified, Jake and Emily found strength in each other, ready to face whatever the future held. During a nighttime investigation at the office, Jake decided he needed to act discreetly. He knew someone was spying on their conversations and accessing confidential information, but he still wasn't sure who was responsible. Every day, the feeling of being watched grew more intense, and he knew he needed concrete proof to expose the culprit. Entering the company after hours, Jake carefully handled a flashlight, illuminating the dark and empty corridors. His hands trembled, not only from the fear of being discovered, but also from the adrenaline of being so close to answers. He checked every room, every cubicle, until he finally reached the IT room, the heart of all surveillance operations in the company. There, he found a computer that was on, which was strange for that time of night. After a few minutes of investigation, Jake discovered a series of access logs showing that someone was monitoring his conversations with Emily. There were files and recordings detailing their every move. He felt a chill down his spine, realizing how invasive it all was. "Who could be doing this?" Jake thought aloud as he analyzed the logs. At that moment, he began to suspect several colleagues. Among them was Lisa, his ex-girlfriend, whose behavior had become increasingly suspicious. He remembered the jealousy she had shown recently, and how she always seemed to be around at the most inconvenient moments. The next day, Jake met Emily at a nearby cafe to discuss his findings. He brought with him the evidence he had collected. "Emily, I found something in the IT room," Jake said, placing the logs on the table. "Someone is spying on our conversations, and I'm almost sure it's someone from the office." Emily looked at the papers, her eyes widening in surprise and fear. "This is terrible, Jake. If they're watching us, then all our plans to find the saboteur are compromised." Jake nodded, his face serious. "We need to find out who is behind this before it's too late, and I think Lisa might be involved." Emily frowned, confused. "Lisa? But why?" Jake explained his suspicions, detailing Lisa's recent behaviors and how she always seemed a step ahead of them. Emily listened carefully but didn't seem entirely convinced. "Jake, I understand your suspicions, but we need more proof before accusing someone directly. Let's keep investigating and keep an eye on everyone." Agreeing, Jake decided to redouble his efforts. He began closely observing his colleagues during office hours, looking for any suspicious behavior. He noted everything, from whispered conversations to furtive glances. One day, during a coffee break, Jake noticed Lisa handling her phone furtively. He approached discreetly and overheard part of the conversation. "Yes, I know. I'm taking care of it. No one will find out." Jake felt his heart race. He needed to find out who Lisa was talking to. After work, he discreetly followed Lisa to a nearby bar, where she met with an unknown man. He hid as best he could, trying to overhear the conversation. "Are you all right, Lisa? You seem tense," the man said. "I'm doing my best, but Jake is starting to suspect. He's more alert than I thought," Lisa replied, looking around nervously. Hearing this, Jake knew he was on the right track. He needed to act quickly. Returning home, he called Emily. "Emily, I'm almost sure Lisa is involved. I followed her and heard a conversation that confirms my suspicions." Emily, on the other end of the line, took a deep breath. "Jake, this is serious. We need to plan our next move carefully. Let's meet early tomorrow and decide how to confront Lisa." Jake agreed, determined to resolve the mystery once and for all. He knew the truth was getting closer, and with Emily by his side, they could face any adversity that arose. Jake and Emily were sitting in the office cafeteria exchanging worried glances. The anonymous messages and project sabotages were consuming their lives, and they knew they needed to take decisive action. The suspicion that Lisa could be involved in the threats against Emily and the sabotages seemed increasingly plausible. Jake took a deep breath, trying to find the right words to approach his colleague. "Emily, we need to confront Lisa. We can't keep living with this doubt," Jake said, squeezing Emily's hand under the table. Emily nodded, though her eyes showed signs of hesitation. "I know, Jake, but what if we're wrong? What if she has nothing to do with this? Then at least we'll have an answer. We need to clear this up once and for all," Jake responded firmly. The decision was made. They waited until the end of the workday when most of their colleagues had already left the office. The tension in the air was palpable as Jake and Emily walked to Lisa's desk. She was focused on her computer, seemingly oblivious to what was happening around her. Jake cleared his throat to get her attention. "Lisa, can we talk for a moment?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Lisa looked up, surprised, but nodded. "Sure, Jake. What's up?" Jake exchanged a quick glance with Emily before continuing. "We know this might sound strange, but we need to know if you're involved in the anonymous messages and the project sabotages." Lisa's face contorted into a look of shock and indignation. "What? You think I'm doing this? Are you crazy?" Emily stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Lisa, please, this is serious. We have reasons to believe you might be involved. We need the truth." Lisa looked back and forth between them, breathing deeply before speaking. "I can't believe you think this of me. I'm also receiving threatening messages. Someone is trying to manipulate all of us." Jake and Emily looked at each other, surprised by the revelation. "You're receiving messages too?" Jake asked, incredulous. Lisa nodded, pulling out her phone and showing them the messages. "Yes, and they're as scary as the ones you described. I didn't know who was behind this, but now I see we're all being played against each other." Lisa's confession added a new layer of complexity to the situation. They spent the following hours discussing and analyzing the messages and recent events, trying to find a pattern or clue that would lead them to the true culprit. The tension between them lessened as they focused on solving the mystery together. "So, what do we do now?" Emily asked, exhausted but determined. "We need to find out who is behind all this and why," Jake replied. "And to do that, we'll need to work together. Lisa, are you willing to help us?" Lisa nodded, a determined look in her eyes. "Of course I am. I won't let this person keep tormenting us." With this new alliance formed, Jake, Emily, and Lisa began to devise a plan to expose the true saboteur. They knew they were dealing with someone who had a connection to Alex and was willing to go to great lengths to track down Emily and sabotage the company. The sense of imminent danger hung over them, but now, united, they felt stronger and more prepared to face whatever came their way. Lisa's revelation changed the dynamics of the investigation. The trio now needed to be more careful and strategic, aware that any misstep could put everyone at risk. The atmosphere in the office grew increasingly tense, but with renewed determination, Jake, Emily, and Lisa were ready to face the challenge and uncover the truth behind the threats and sabotages that were destabilizing their lives. The following days would be crucial, and they knew they needed to be more united than ever to unmask the true villain of this intricate plot. With Lisa's help, Jake and Emily set a trap to expose the true saboteur. They orchestrate a meticulous plan, using company technology and their own skills to track and monitor every move within the office. The tension is palpable, with the three working in sync, sharing knowing glances and quick whispers. "We need to make sure he takes the bait," Jake said, adjusting a hidden camera in a strategic corner of the conference room. "Emily, are you sure he'll be here tonight?" Emily, still apprehensive, nodded affirmatively. "Yes, I heard him talking about staying late to finish some reports. It's our chance." Lisa, who had previously been under suspicion, now showed her value. "I'll monitor the video feeds from my computer. Any suspicious movement, I'll let you know immediately." Her determination was evident, and she was eager to prove her innocence and help solve the mystery. Night fell, and the office, usually bustling, was silent. Jake, Emily, and Lisa waited with nerves on edge. The clock ticked slowly until footsteps echoed through the empty corridors. Jake signaled to Emily and Lisa, indicating they should prepare. Their co-worker, Richard, entered the conference room. He seemed confident, but there was something sinister about his demeanor. He began rifling through documents, clearly searching for something specific. Jake watched intently through the cameras, waiting for the right moment to act. "Now, Lisa," Jake whispered into the radio. Lisa pressed a button that automatically locked the conference room doors, trapping Richard inside. He panicked, looking around frantically. "Richard, we know what you're doing," Jake's voice echoed through the speakers. "It's time for you to confess." Initially, Richard tried to maintain his composure, but the pressure was visible in his eyes. "You don't know anything," he growled, trying to find a way out. "Let me out of here." Emily entered the room, bravely confronting Richard. "You're helping Alex find me, aren't you? Why, Richard? What do you gain from this?" Richard hesitated, but Emily's determined presence and his lack of escape routes made him crumble. Okay, I admit it. Alex paid me to track you and sabotage the project. He said he needed you back at any cost." Before they could continue, the unexpected happened. Alex had somehow managed to enter the building and now stood before Jake and Emily. His presence was threatening, his eyes filled with rage and obsession. "You shouldn't have gotten involved, Jake," Alex growled, advancing towards him. "Emily is mine, always has been, and always will be." Jake positioned himself between Alex and Emily, determined to protect her. "You're not getting near her, Alex. This ends here." A fierce fight ensued. Alex was strong and determined, but Jake was driven by the desire to protect Emily and resolve the mysteries of his own past. Amidst the chaos, a shocking secret was revealed. "You don't know, do you, Jake?" Alex shouted between punches and shoves. "I'm your brother, the brother you never knew existed." The revelation stunned Jake momentarily. "What? How is that possible?" "Our father separated us. He never wanted you to know about me," Alex continued, the fury in his eyes. "But now you know, and nothing will change what I want." At this critical moment, Lisa appeared with crucial information. "I've discovered everything, Jake. Alex is lying about many things, including who he really is. He manipulated everything to try to separate you and get what he wanted." With this new information, Jake managed to disarm Alex and restrain him until the police arrived. Richard was also detained, and the puzzle pieces finally began to fit together. With Alex and Richard out of their lives, Jake and Emily could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The experience had brought them together in ways neither could have predicted. Now, free from threats and dangers, they were ready to start a new chapter together, facing the future side by side, confident that, regardless of the challenges that arose, they would always support each other. In the climax of the story, the tension reaches its peak when Alex finally appears and confronts Jake and Emily. The atmosphere is charged with fear and suspense, with every move being carefully watched by all present. Alex, with a look of contained fury, stares at Jake and Emily, making it clear he is not there for friendly conversations. "You thought you could hide from me, Emily," Alex growls, taking a step toward her. "And you, Jake, think you can protect her. You have no idea what's going on here." Jake, with his heart pounding, stands between Emily and Alex, trying to stay calm. "Alex, this needs to end. You can't keep this obsession going. Leave Emily alone." Alex laughs, a dry and bitter sound. "You're so naive, Jake. Always were. You think you can solve everything with words. There are things you don't know about me, about yourself." At that moment, the room seems to close around them, the tension almost palpable. Alex decides to drop the bomb. "Jake, I'm your brother, your lost brother, the one you never knew existed." The revelation hits Jake like a punch to the gut. He is paralyzed, trying to process the information. "What? That can't be true. You're lying." "Ask your parents if you don't believe me. They abandoned me, left me behind. And now, I'm here to settle the score," Alex says, his voice filled with years of resentment and pain. Emily, standing by Jake's side, feels the gravity of the situation. She holds his hand, trying to convey some comfort. "Jake, no matter what he says, we're in this together. We'll get through this." The physical fight that follows is intense. Alex, driven by rage and a desire for revenge, lunges at Jake. The two exchange blows, knocking over furniture and scattering papers across the floor. Emily tries to intervene but is pushed aside, falling hard. In the midst of the chaos, Lisa enters the room, breathless. "Stop! I've discovered something important," she shouts, holding a thick envelope. All eyes turn to her, and Alex, unsure what to do, hesitates for a moment. Lisa opens the envelope and begins to read aloud. "Alex, you've been manipulated by a third party. There's someone behind all this, using you to get to Emily and Jake. Here are the proofs." Jake, still stunned by Alex's revelation, asks, "Lisa, what are you talking about?" "There are letters, phone records, everything here. Someone from the company has been taking advantage of the situation to create discord and gain control over the project," Lisa explains quickly. "And that person is trying to destroy all of us." Alex, confused and weakened by the fight, tries to grab the envelope, but Lisa holds it firmly. "Look, Alex, see for yourself. You've been deceived." With trembling hands, Alex takes the documents and begins to read. His expression changes from anger to shock, and finally to regret. I didn't know. I've been a fool." Jake, taking advantage of the truce, approaches and puts a hand on Alex's shoulder. "We can resolve this together, but you need to stop this violence." Emily, recovering from the scare, joins the two brothers. "Alex, you also deserve a chance at redemption. Let's face this together." With Lisa's crucial information, they manage to unravel the plot behind the sabotages and threats. The person responsible is exposed and faces the appropriate consequences. Jake and Alex begin to rebuild their relationship, while Emily and Jake, now free from threats, look to the future with renewed hope. Jake and Emily, hand in hand, walk out of the company, ready to start a new chapter together. "We did it," Jake whispers to Emily. "Now nothing can stop us." Emily smiles, feeling finally safe. "Yes, Jake. We're ready for whatever the future holds together."